Welcome to Soundbreaker. In today's episode, we're talking to LaTecia Johnson, who is the founder and CEO of INGENIUS. Thank you for joining us this morning, LaTecia. And for our listeners who might not be familiar with you, could you please introduce yourself and tell us just a bit about yourself before we really dive into it?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me, Bob.
My
As you
pleasure.
mentioned, I'm LaTecia Johnson. I am the CEO and founder of INGENIUS. Prior to launching INGENIUS, I also have led Visionary Rising, which is a creative agency and studio for the last 8 years. Throughout that time, I have worked across technology, creative, media, tech, you name it, I've done it and have kind of become an expert, I would say, in the creator economy, scaling and growing it. And if there's a product that is launched in the last decade, I've probably been a part of it or advised in some capacity. That's a little bit about me.
Pretty intriguing. So you are, let's say, a guru in the creative space, or a bit of a guru.
You said it, I did. You said it, I did it. But I think I'm pretty known behind the scenes. I would say just helping, being able to help creative focused companies scale and create the systems and get those in place in order to do what they need to do
Lovely.
to bring their product to market.
Well, Leticia, you worked for Microsoft and you worked for Nielsen. And how I would say working for both of these companies kind of shape your approach towards digital marketing and strategy.
That's a really good question. So I always tell people that like I started my career in media when I went to Nielsen. I started my career in tech at Microsoft, which I think was a
Microsoft.
year prior to me going to Nielsen. And what I've learned in as part of kind of being in both of those companies at their, I think it's like over a decade ago, what I really learned was just the importance of operational effectiveness and process. There's something that I say process makes perfect. And Nielsen really embodied that. It's where I learned, where I was introduced to Lean Six Sigma. I actually ended up getting my first two certifications, green and yellow belt, in just operational effectiveness and Six Sigma. And so for digital marketing, what it really taught me from learning it from those two companies and being a part of them is the importance of just setting up the process, the importance of strategy, the importance of really understanding the plan and then executing against that plan, no matter what happens. And so I've kind of taken that definitely throughout my career, but it started there.
Amazing. Let's talk about Apple. How did Apple influence your leadership style? Because you worked for Apple, and that's a very big company. So you pretty much were
Yeah.
doing the round of all the big tech companies, from Microsoft to Apple to Nielsen. Yeah, let's talk
Yeah.
about Apple.
Yeah, I think Apple, what I've learned since being out of it is probably what has influenced my leadership style the most. What I learned at Apple, and I say this to my team all the time, is just the importance of excellence. It doesn't matter if you are the first. I think that a lot of people always want to be first, 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 first. What I learned at Apple was just the importance of being the best, right? If you're the best and it takes you a while, a little bit longer to get to market and do all of these different things, just having that patience to understand that by being the best, by presenting your best foot forward, by doing your best work, by showing up and giving your best, you're eventually going to become the number one product, the number one person, the number one solution. But you just have to commit and not get distracted. And so I think my leadership style is a blend of course, all of the great leaders that I encountered throughout my career.
Hmm.
But the overarching theme is just patience in the journey and
Hmm.
understanding that being the first doesn't necessarily mean that you're the best. It just means that you were first and you had an idea and it was cool and
Hmm.
you were the first. But if you can take a step back and innovate, iterate, and then introduce it, you have a really great opportunity to be the best.
Leticia, what challenges did you face leading revenue strategy at a cloud guru?
Yeah, I think with a cloud guru, it was probably most different thing throughout. If you look across my career definitely kind of has a flair for director, for operations and strategy more specifically. But I was always in kind of the technical media entertainment space. This was something that was completely left field. It was cloud infrastructure. And so not only did I have to learn a new industry, I also had to learn a new archetype. Selling things to creators is completely different from being able to sell and appeal to a developer. The ways
Hmm.
that they think and operate are just completely different. And so that initially was the challenge for me, which is spent my career learning about one type of person, one type of idea, and I've become really, really great at that. And now I'm being challenged to kind of go in a different direction, right? Who to learn the psychology of this new user type to really be able to understand and appeal to them in a way that made sense, and then back that into strategy that allows us to accelerate. And so that was, I think, the biggest challenge. We, of course,
Hmm.
were able to get through that. The company was acquired. I oversaw the acquisition as part of that operational team, but learned a ton just about being able to pivot, adapt, and just make decisions on the fly, and be able to stand those up.
Let's talk about what were the key strategies behind the incredible growth of Formless under your leadership, LaTecia.
Well, I led growth at Formless. I was the head of growth at Formless, and I think it goes back to just really understanding who you're talking to, who you're speaking to. I think a lot of times, and I see this all the time with technology, people get so focused on, oh, we have AI this, we have blockchain this, it's NFT. Even, I learned that at my time during Royal, learned it to carry that over into my time with Formless, is that
Hmm.
ultimately the technology doesn't matter. It's a tool. It's a means for providing value. It's a means for providing a solution. What matters is the solution that you're providing, the value that you're giving. And
Hmm.
so with my strategies there and how we spoke about the customer, who is our customer? It's keep the customer first. Think about their experience. Our customer is the creator. They don't care about the technology. Literally do not. Have you ever spoke to a creator? I've never heard a creator say, "Hey, did you see what AI did?" No, they don't care. What they care about is that something that they wanted to do, something that they thought about in their mind now
Yeah.
exists, and it's delivered in a means that's easier for them. And so, really, just breaking down that language, putting a face to it, really centering it around the founder of that platform, who was an artist himself, is an artist himself, and
Hmm.
really understood the artist's experience and how they think about things and how they orchestrate things. And so, what I really did there was just get get outside of the noise of the technology and really just hone in on who are we talking to, what are we trying to solve for, and then how are we going to solve it, and just speaking to them in plain language. I think is the easiest way to talk about the strategy.
LaTecia, for our listeners of yours at Soundbreaker, if you don't mind breaking down real-time revenue sharing and how is it reshaping the creator economy, but we want our viewers and listeners to understand what is real-time revenue sharing and how is
Yeah,
it
so I think
reshaping. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, so I think probably the best person to talk about it would be the founders of it, but I think real-time revenue sharing essentially just allows creators or anyone really to be able to make money, and at the moment that they make the money, be able to receive it and have it recognized. I think across the music industry, especially
Yeah.
today, if you make a song and it gets picked up, you have to wait a quarter, 2 quarters to actually realize the recognized revenue. There
Mhm.
are, of course, a lot of kind of services out there that allow you to take an advance ahead of time, but they charge a percentage for that. And I just
Correct.
never really thought that it was very fair for us to charge creators to access the capital that belongs to them anyway. And so
Hmm.
what I love about blockchain and why I worked at Royal, why I, took on the
Hmm.
roles that I did in the creator economy is because the blockchain actually enables this type of technology where it can be recognized in real time. A
Hmm.
transaction doesn't have to go through multiple layers. It doesn't have to go through, across different institutions. You have a transaction. Someone buys a song, they say that
Yes.
they want in. and the creator immediately receives revenue for that, and they're able to transfer it to their wallet, and it literally happens in seconds instead of days. And I think that's the easiest and simplest form to express it.
Amazing. And you were behind the partnership for Brandon Troy's Money Can't Buy Love. And what made that partnership so successful?
I think that was one of the launches that, I of course oversaw during my time as head of growth at Formless. And I think it just goes back to my overarching philosophy on just creating strategies. I've been now developing all types of strategies over the last decade of my career.
Hmm.
And I just kind of always go back to this idea that the best strategies don't feel like strategies. They don't feel like they're being sold to. It's
Hmm.
speaking in plain language. It's making the message as clear as possible and eliminating the boundary between the creator, the artist, and their audience. I think
Hmm.
platforms today do a really great job of connecting us, but because of the algorithm, because of all of these different elements, they also do a really great job of disconnecting us. And so my
Correct.
strategies always focus on that immediate and initial feeling of here's an artist, they're putting their work out. How can we get to the heart of the why? Because I truly believe that once people understand why you're making music, why
Mhm.
you're, creating this content, why you're doing it, when people understand the why, will appeal to them and they will like it. And maybe not everyone will like it, but the people that need to connect with it will. And I think that campaign was a great example of just eliminating the distractions, making it bare bones, really getting into the heart of the why, and then at the same time introducing this new type of technology to the market in
Mhm.
a way and through a vehicle of someone they could really connect to.
How do you create brand experience that both resonate and convert at Visionary Rising?
Yeah, Visionary is my baby. It's my first baby. I started Visionary in 2016 as it was my side hustle, and it eventually became so successful that I needed to step into it full time. And what I really think about is it just always goes back down to the customer experience. What is the feeling that you want to walk away with? And
Hmm.
our brand clients, that's the first question that I always ask them is how do you want people to feel when they see this? And they're always kind of taken back by it because they're like, I don't know. I was like, no, like really, tell me how do you want people to feel when they see this? And once we have that emotion, once we understand that emotion, then we can work back and create the creative. We can figure out the font that needs to show. We can figure out the images that need to be seen. But I think it always goes back to the heart of what do you want people to feel? If you want people to think, well, that's going to be a little bit more dramatic. Maybe we need to be a little bit more in their face. It needs to wake them up. If you want people to be happy and to feel joy, we know how to elicit that. But it just always goes back to that feeling, and then we build our experiences around that outcome. And so I've been doing it for again the better part of my career, and by developing this framework that is really just based around what do you want people to feel? And then, of course, I have an amazing team of strategists and photographers and videographers who've worked for some of the biggest brands in the world, who we can then come together and say, okay, these are all of the elements that the client has told us about. We've done our research on who their audience is. We understand these elements and we bring those together. And
Hmm.
then we create those experiences that illuminate whatever that feeling is. And that's also why I think that as much as technology will continue to accelerate,
Hmm.
AI will never replace that human experience or that human connection. It's going to always be about the augmentation of the creative process. And so that's really what we focus on.
Absolutely. What inspired you to start Ingenious? That's your other baby. So you
Yeah,
have
that's
two
my other
companies.
bit. I have two companies.
Yes.
Ingenius is a platform that it really is designed to kind of operationalize a lot of the things that we've been talking about here today.
Hmm.
Is I would say AI enabled, a platform that allows media companies to work better with the talent that they work with and launch and automate their campaign process. And so the reason that I started it is because of what I've seen across the creator economy and media infrastructure. I've spent my career in it. We talked a little bit about it here. But something that I've always seen and what I've always noticed is that launching the creator-led campaigns, launching creator-led activations, launching creator anything is just a deeply manual process. It's manual for the creators on the other side of it. And that's the same whether you look at music or you look at influencer marketing. If you really, really go into the heart of, okay, I want to put a song out, and you're signed to a label, and you go in and you create this amazing music, and then it takes a year for it to come out and for people to hear it, because
Yeah.
all of these little pieces have to go in. And then you have to worry about, then marketing it. And yeah, there have been some things that I've done, and we've developed a lot of different tools. But the heart of it is that it's just a very manual process to launch any creator-led initiative. And what we want to do with INGENIUS, because the technology that exists today, is actually streamline that process so that people can stay in their zone of genius. As a creator, creators literally do not want to be looking at spreadsheets, following up on these outstanding tasks. That's not how they work. That's not how they operate. But most of the technologies and the tools that have been created today are
Yeah.
being created by people who are creatives in their own right, but don't understand the creative brain. And
Yeah.
so we've had to kind of adapt into what these processes already are. And with INGENIUS, I wanted to take a giant step back and work through the lens of what if a platform was built with the end user in mind and their experience. What if it was built based on how the creative mind works? And then we work with brand teams, we work with artists, we work with labels, we work with distributors to understand the parts of their process that
Yeah.
is just deeply manual. And our goal is to automate 90% of the manual stuff so that you can focus on that 10% always that really drives the business forward. For creators, we want them to create more. For agencies, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. Please go ahead.
For agencies, we want them to have the means to just be able to focus on relationship building. And for brands, we want them to understand how their investment dollars are working. And that happens automatically so that there's not this kind of, well, what does success look like? Which is where we are right now.
Well, speaking of brand, how do you see the future of brand creator partnerships evolving?
Yeah, I think we often speak about this idea ingenious and a visionary where what if there's a world where brand partnerships happen automatically anytime for every brand in the entire world, right? And there's technology that exists and we're building in, and that's the vision that we're building toward, is this idea that influence isn't just about the influencers who are our face every day. It's actually about the everyday human, what you're wearing in your day to day, how you show up. And so we believe in this idea of, and I always say, empowering the next generation of creator genius, because the tools and technology that we have today does mean that organic, authentic partnerships are what's going to drive the future forward. We see it now. When people know that they're being sold to, they immediately disengage. If
Yes.
I were to say to you, hey, Bob, I have this amazing thing that I want to pitch to you, and you're going to disengage. But if it's presented in a way that's just deeply authentic and organic, I'm talking to you today about the things that I love and about the companies that I love and why I built them. And that's completely different than me coming in and like hard pitching you on why you should use my product. And I think that where we've gone today is influence for the sake of influence. I'm giving you this brand. I'm telling you to use this brand because this brand is paying me $5,000 to endorse them. As I love this brand of lemon water and I'm talking about it naturally. By the way, I have this link that if you like it and you also engage, I'm an ambassador for them. That's a different experience than with it being integrated in your daily life than influence for the sake of influence. And I see brands going in the future much more toward those kind of creator led, authentic driven partnerships that are, yes, they're great, but here's why they're great for us. Not just because they have this massive reach, but because their audience actually engages with us. They actually like us. They actually are in our community. And this is why we're elevating this particular creator or influencer versus influence for the sake of influence.
LaTecia, how do you manage all of this? You work with creators, you work as the lead at Ingenious and Visionary Rising. So, beside both companies that you own, manage, and market and CEO, we do everything. Probably wear many different hats for each company. Plus, you work with creators. How do you maintain the balance?
Honestly, I have a great team. I have a great team.
Always, yes.
I think it starts there. And I always say, like, I hire 10Xers. I hire 10X people, excuse me, who are really great at what they're great at. And
Hmm.
because they're really great at what they're great at, it allows me to operate in my zone of genius, which is being able to bring these ideas to life and make them tangible and operate and then execute and push that vision forward. But it's also about just being focused, right? Having my focus time, everything has a place, and then balancing it that way. And throughout my career, I've been able to build up systems and routines that just allow me to continue operating at my highest capacity and not breaking down. And people are always like, well, how do you not burn out? Like I have burned out, and now I understand what I have to do, right? I
Yeah.
work, I rest just as hard as I work, meaning, if I'm at rest, I'm at rest. If I'm working, I'm working. I'm going to go all the way through to it. But I've also learned the art of delegation, and being able to articulate the vision, hand it over, and have that trust in the team and their ability to execute and be there when I'm needed.
What advice you would have for somebody or some of the people who's starting out and they want to follow your footsteps and they say, you know what,
Yeah.
Leticia did it. I'm gonna carve my own path.
I just posted this on LinkedIn the other day, and it was some advice that was given to me. I started my journey, and it's something that I've always kind of kept close to me, which is just start now. If you give yourself long enough,
Mhm.
you will find a reason not to do it. You'll find
So
it.
don't procrastinate. Just do it.
Don't procrastinate. Literally just do it, right? We know that slogan, but just do it,
Well,
right?
Nike said
Because
it best.
Nike said it. Because if you don't, you will find a reason not to.
Yes.
But if you start, you'll learn, you'll do it better, you'll keep going, but you'll build momentum.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest advice. Just start. You're gonna mess up, you're gonna fail. It
Mm.
happens. I failed. I've launched campaigns that were duds, made some big bets that didn't turn out exactly how I thought that they would. But I learned, I was able to improve, I was able to keep going. And so that's always my advice. You have an idea? Cool. Put it out there.
I like one thing you just said. You said build the momentum. That's what it
Build the
is.
momentum.
That's it. It's all build. It's in everything. In
Hmm.
everything you do, build that momentum, and
Hmm.
that you just keep going. Even if it's wrong, you'll correct it. You'll become better at it. Before we wrap up this informative, interesting interview with LaTecia, anything you would like to tell our viewers and listeners on Soundbreaker that you're coming up with soon, that you want to promote, to look for, your platform, how people to get a hold of you, please.
Thank you. Yeah, as we mentioned, right, I'm working on two very amazing companies right now. Visionary Rising is a creative agency and studio that allows you to launch and
Mhm.
scale your programs if you're a creative focused company. And then Ingenious Studio, Ingenious.studio is our platform designed for agencies, brands, and talent that we believe are the media companies of tomorrow, and our desires to help you optimize and run your campaigns better so that you
Mhm.
can stay in your zone of genius. So please check us out.
Amazing. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today, Leticia. And this concludes today's episode of Soundbreaker. Please
Thank
make
you.
sure to follow us on socials and stay tuned for our next episode. Thanks again.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share the Soundbreaker podcast. And if you are joining us on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.